Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories. And if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit from Exact Information 627. And they ask, am I the arsehole here because I want my wife to ask permission before taking our son on playdates? It starts, my wife and I have a 2-year-old. I work Sunday to Thursday. Yes, I'm at work right now, 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. She works Thursday to Sunday, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. So we make it work. Here's the problem. When I get off work, I like to spend time with my child. I also like to spend time with my child on my days off. Frequently, I will be with our son, and my wife will say they are leaving to go on a playdate with one of her friends, or I will get home and they are already gone. I tried to have a conversation with my wife about the playdates. I asked if we could put them in the calendar so I know when they are and maybe carve some specific slots out just for me and our son. I feel like we're being deprived of quality time. She asked why we aren't spending time together while she is at work. I said because his bedtime is at 7. She said that gives us 2 hours, and that's when I get him ready for bed. She said, is that not quality time? I said I really want to set time aside for me and our son. She said sometimes playdates get scheduled last second. I said it's okay to tell her friends no, that we're busy. She said she doesn't need my permission to take our son on a playdate. I said that's not what I said, and she said no, but that I'm saying it without saying it. She also said that playdates are good for our son and he gets fresh air and socializations, and that all I want to do is sit on the couch with him and watch cartoons and call it bonding. She did the finger quotes. This is not true. On my days off, I want to take our son places and do things, but I can't because she has already claimed that time. We can only do things if we do them early in the morning while she is asleep, which we do, but she doesn't see that and doesn't acknowledge it. Yes, when I've been working all day, sometimes I want to watch my favorite childhood cartoons with my son for maybe an hour. Is that terrible? We're basically stuck. We both think the other is being insanely unreasonable. I want us to talk and figure out a good schedule together. She thinks I'm being controlling. She messaged her friend group chat and sent me screenshots of all her friends saying I'm wrong. I can't do that because I don't want to talk about a fight with my wife to my friends. So, what do you guys think? In the same post, OP has a mini update and says, since so many of you said I was being too passive, I made a calendar and blocked out Friday. I sent it to her and told her I was taking our son to my friend's house to meet his animals. She said no because there will probably be a playdate. I told her he will have to miss the playdate. She stopped responding for a bit and then sent me screenshots of her friend group chat where they all say I'm a jackass, and one even said she should call the police and report him as kidnapped. I said, don't you think friend's name is being a little insane? She responded, just please stop trying to control what I do. You have son's name when I'm at work. You don't need to have him all day. When you get to friend's name's house, you're just going to sit around and watch TV. I said we're going to meet his animals and that's the plan, and it's happening. She stopped responding. I assume she's back to the group chat. I also sent her a screenshot of one of the comments here. And she said I was being immature posting online, but her posting to a group chat is very mature, I guess. Bloody hell, it sounds like the communication is absolutely broken in this one, doesn't it? I mean, she seems to be talking to her friends and they seem to be hating on him. He's posting to Reddit and sending screenshots to her to potentially win arguments, I guess. And it seems like they're almost both talking past each other instead of actually listening to one another. And when he's asking for scheduled time, all she seems to be hearing is control and dismissing any time that he actually does spend with their child, just saying, oh, you're just going to watch TV. There just seems to be no almost healthy communication between the two of them, right? And it just feels like if it's something that if they don't sit down together and talk this out, it's just going to get worse and worse. Alternative says something similar, just said, the way you all communicate is not normal. I'd start there. Empty says they might communicate better as a divorced couple with a custody scheduled ATP. Less is more says, seems like they already fight about physical custody of their son. Why can't dad have all Fridays with his son if he wants? because of a currently non-existent playdate. Wife sounds like a nasty piece of work. At least if he was divorced, the family court could back him up getting a certain amount of time with his son. She could schedule the all-important playdates on her time. Oh, and if you're married, one spouse taking the child somewhere without the other spouse's permission is not kidnapping. Some real bright ones on that group chat. Creative Fan says, my ex-wife was like OP's wife. I wasn't allowed to spend time with my son without it causing huge strife. He was fine with me spending time with him while he worked, but it was more like he was treating me as a nanny than my son's mother. By the time I left him, my son was old enough to recognize what was happening, and it messed him up. He would want to spend time with me, but then he'd feel guilty about it because it hurt daddy's feelings. It was jealousy and control, full stop. My son eventually gravitated towards me more than my ex, and one night it came to a head. My son was wanting to color with me and my ex spat out, "What the fuck lies have you been telling him about me? I used to be the favorite parent." It was so toxic and so bizarre, and it was very much a symptom of a bigger problem. I'm sure if OP were to look at his relationship, there's other issues where his spouse has to be the one in control or the one who is right, or something where she's better than OP in her mind. In healthy relationships, you both do things separately with the kids, so you're both getting quality relationship building time, and you're both getting some child-free time to yourself. And you definitely don't gang up on your partner like that with your group chat. It's disrespectful as fuck. Another commenter says to OP, why aren't you guys doing things as a family, the three of you sometimes? OP says, I wish we did more, but she's always with her friends. I try to get her to do things as a trio, and she very rarely agrees. Maybe once or twice a month. And what does she do the whole time? Text her friends. Fitz says, not sure. Have you tried putting a play date for you and your kid on the calendar so your wife can look and see when you'd like to have a slot? OP says she refused the suggestion of the calendar, but I'm just going to do it anyway. I'm making one right now and I'm going to send it to her. So OP came in with an update sometime later and said, so I initially posted this morning at work about how I tried to talk to my wife about our kid's schedule. She said I was telling her to ask permission to take him on playdates. I just wanted us to decide together as a couple so I can spend more time with our son. She didn't like that. Most of the responses were really nasty. A lot of people didn't believe the situation or didn't even understand it. At first, I was incredibly frustrated. Then I realized the fact that so many people don't even believe this is happening proves how abnormal it is. Several people told me to just make a calendar and send it to her, which I did. Her reaction was very negative. A lot of people also said to just go pick him up from the playdate when I get off work. So I did. When I got to the park, it was empty. This was reasonable because it's freezing outside. I went into the cafe. My wife was sitting at the table with her friends drinking coffee. The kids, including our son, were sitting on the floor playing on tablets. Our son doesn't have a tablet, so it must have been a spare from one of the other kids. I said hello and my wife had an immediate negative reaction. Her whole body got tense. Her face tightened up. She asked why I was there. I said I came to get our son so we can go home and spend some time together. She said he's on a play date. I picked him up and took the tablet away, setting it on the table. She got defensive about the tablet, even though I hadn't said anything about it yet. She said it's cold outside. I said, yeah, I know. I said we're going to go, but to have fun with her friends. She told me to stop and said I was humiliating her. I said I would see her at home. When I got home, my son and I spent some time together. We watched one episode of our favorite cartoon and then we played make-believe with his toys. We made dinner together and were eating when my wife came home to get ready for work. She said I embarrassed her in front of her friends and accused me of trying to destroy her support network. I said she accuses me of always wanting to watch TV with our kid, but she just had him sitting on the ground with a tablet. How is that better than watching one episode of a cartoon he and I both like? She said it's because his friends were there. She also kept yelling over and over that it was cold outside, which freaked out our son. She said, look what you did, even though she was the one yelling. I took him to the bathroom and bathed him. She already left for work when we were done. I read to him from his storybook and he went to bed. He's been asleep for an hour and a half. Since my wife gets off work in a couple of hours, I've just been replaying everything that happened in my mind over and over again. I know she's going to be mad when she gets home. I don't want to fight again, but I have a feeling we're going to fight again. Update. When my wife came home last night, I told her I want counseling. She said no. I told her we can't go on like this and that it isn't fair to our son. She told me I need to work more and leave the parenting to her, because she is the mum. She said if I did my job as a provider, we wouldn't be in the situation we are in. I said that is never going to happen. I said I already work a lot and I'm not going to do more. If she wants the relationship to improve, we need counseling, because what she thinks is going to make her happy is never going to happen. So we need to work together to find a solution. She said no again. I asked what she wants to do to work on our marriage. She said she wants me to stop being like this. I asked what she is willing to do for our marriage. Or is it only me that needs to change? She said it's me. I said then let's get divorced, because neither of us is making the other happy. She said yes. She then wanted me to get out of bed and relocate to the guest room. I said no. She told me I had to. I admit I was a bit of a jerk. I made fun of her and asked if this is different from what her friend said would happen. She started to cry and asked why I was making this difficult. I said I wasn't. She got in bed and we went to sleep. As I was leaving for work this morning, she came out of our room and said she would do counseling if I moved out of the house. I said no. She said she'll do it if I moved to the guest bedroom. I said no. She said it's customary for the wife to stay and the husband to leave. I told her divorce is whatever the people doing it make it, and her friends lied to her. She said not to talk about her friends like that. I said I could say way worse about her friends, but I have to go to work. She said she would go to the counseling so we can see how wrong I am. I called my insurance half an hour ago, and they emailed me a list of people they cover. I'm working my way down the list now. In the comments, one says you need couples therapy. If you're fighting like this in public, you're really messing your kid up at home. Don't kid yourself that your kid doesn't hear you fight, or some other BS. Upset says, I'm starting to wonder if the wife is territorial about the playdates because it's really her excuse to hang out with her new friends, and perhaps she fears that she won't be invited unless her son accompanies her. I'm Glory says, mum groups like that usually require a child. Beth says, not sure why since they all dump their kids in front of a screen each. OP should just tell her she sorts herself out, or he's divorcing her and going for 50-50 custody. She's acting like she makes all the rules and needs to realize she doesn't. Marriage is a partnership, or what's the point? Dry Bowler says, I'm the person who asked on your other post about what her friends are like. This update does not settle my concerns about the friends at all. I attended quite a few playdate groups when my kids were small. Once was when my second child was a month or two old. My first was staying with her grandparents for the night. My friend said there was a playdate. I said that older child wasn't around. They said no problem, come with just baby. We still want to see you. There were also mums in the play groups who shared custody with exes. We always told them to just come and drink coffee without the kids if they were looking for something to do when the kids were with their dad. Real friends want to see you regardless of if your kid is there or not. Real friends cheer for you when you get an hour to socialize without the kids in tow. And really, real friends encourage you to communicate with your spouse. Next drummer says, dude, your wife hates you. Just get a divorce already. An opportunity says, honestly, you might not be far off from the truth. He said she got tense when he showed up, so for whatever reason, she wasn't happy to see him. I'd be happy if my husband showed up to take the kids off my hands when I'm chatting with my friends. My kids are older now, but when they were younger, I always enjoyed it when my husband took over the childcare. Successful Bitch says, I wonder if she is constantly shitting on OP being an absent father to her support network, and him showing up to spend time with their son might have cracked some truthful light on her dishonesty to her friends. This is pure conjecture, of course, but not out of the question. OP replied saying, I kinda wondered the same thing. She sends me screenshots of the stuff they say about me. It can get pretty vile. I have to wonder what she told them to make them feel that way about me. Commenter says, sorry, but I don't think she loves or even likes you. Sensor Doll says, bro, why is she sending you screenshots of shit talking about you to her friends? Dude, that's fucking mean. No, you know what? That's evil. Listen, my husband gets on my fucking nerves, but I would never think to shit talk about him and then send him screenshots of just people's responses to him. Like, that's next level. I really hate you, and I want others to too. Why would you even entertain that conversation at all? Just fuck OP. Get your own help and get away from her. OP says she does it to win arguments. Holy shit. I don't think the counseling is going to do anything in this situation. I mean, she literally said she'll only go so you can see how wrong you are. That's not someone who's wanting to fix things. I mean, she straight up told him to work more and leave the parenting to her because she's the mum. It doesn't sound like she wants a partner. It almost just sounds like, she just wanted everything covered. And then, he's just in the background working and so they can continue living. And the absolute irony about her having a go at him for wanting to watch TV with their son when, these play dates was just her. Well, she was just like drinking coffee while the kids sit on tablets. It sounds like the friends in this are absolutely toxic, sending him screenshots of them trashing him to win arguments. It's just shitty, isn't it? And I have to say, just because of the way things are going, the house thing felt a bit like a trap to me too. I don't know the legalities of it, just stuff that I've heard in the past, but she demanding that he move out for counseling, and then the guest room, like she was trying to almost establish possession of it before a divorce. Again, I don't know the actual legalities of that, if that's possible, but I've heard it in the past and it kind of felt like that. It almost sounds like he needs a lawyer rather than a counselor because it sounds like it's going that direction, right? But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Maybe, as always, you might have a different opinion on the matter. Always love to see them. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit from Locksmith Vegetable 41. And it says, am I the arsehole for not letting mother-in-law help with my confinement and insulting my hubby in the process? I, 24 female, just had my first baby with my husband, 27 male. And in Nigeria, we have this tradition called, excuse this pronunciation, Omogwa, where either of our mums comes to help out after childbirth. I wanted my mum to come because we have a better dynamic, but my mother-in-law is way more traditional, and we just don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, especially household stuff. Lately, I've been really struggling postpartum. I don't like being touched. I'm super sensitive to light and sound, and everyone has respected that except my mother-in-law. We've always had a decent relationship, not just when it comes to how things should be done around the house. A few days ago, she called to ask when she could come, and I politely told her I'd already asked my mum. She lost it, saying that's not how things are done, that she needed to bond with the baby, that I was being disrespectful, lazy, and keeping her mum from her grandchild. I corrected her and told her she would see the baby, just not with living with us. She immediately called my husband, but thankfully he backed me up, saying it was my choice since I was the one who gave birth. Fast forward to the day my mum was supposed to arrive. She was already being so supportive, even telling me I should just let mother-in-law come for peace sake, and they could be here together. But I stood my ground to many people in the house. Not even a minute after my mum arrived, mother-in-law showed up with father-in-law and her bags, ready to move in. I told her no, she wasn't staying here. She completely lost it, yelling that I was a bad daughter-in-law and an even worse mother, and that I wasn't giving my child what he deserved. At that point, I snapped. I told her I didn't want to hear because all she'd do was criticize everything I was doing wrong while giving her son a pass for being lazy, just like she did with her husband and her other son. I told her she wasn't going to come into my home and make me feel like a maid, and that I deserved to be surrounded by people who actually love me, not people who pick and choose when to care. I also said she wasn't going to use my child as a second chance at parenting because she failed the first time. The second the words left my mouth, I regretted them. My husband, who had been so supportive, just looked so hurt and walked away. Mother-in-law looked like she swallowed a whole duck, and father-in-law, while understanding that I didn't want her there, said I didn't have to be so harsh. Now my sister-in-law and in-laws are blowing up my phone, and honestly, I don't even know what to do next. Am I the arsehole? So someone immediately asked on the back of this, why did you say she failed the first time? Opie says, for context, my mother-in-law has 3 kids, to boys and a girl, and my sister-in-law is the firstborn, and she shipped her off to her grandma's house, her own mother-in-law, because she didn't want her around because she wasn't a boy, and sister-in-law hasn't really gotten over it, but things are a bit better. Aqua says, you didn't say if you had a son or a daughter, but that could be another factor to your mother-in-law being persistent about seeing your child. Is your child the first grandchild? That could be a factor too, not the arsehole. Opie says, I just had a baby girl. Maybe that's why, and no, not the first grandchild. My sister-in-law has 2 kids, twin boys, and my brother-in-law has a boy too. First granddaughter though. Relevant Mirror says she came from Nigeria and expected to stay with you without an invite or even a heads up. You were pushed pretty hard, especially considering you're a postpartum mother. Not the arsehole, though you could apologize as you probably said things that didn't need to be said. Opie says I'm Nigerian and currently living in Nigeria. She came from like states away. How she found out the exact day my mum was coming I don't know, because my mum and I reside in the same state. Opie then replies to a deleted commenter saying, my mother is the most non-confrontational person and very diplomatic. I didn't want to argue with her, my husband as well. But when she came I spoke about not wanting her there. She already flew off the handles and he stepped between us because she was about to lunge at me and he tried his best, not gonna lie. Now, there was the comment from OP about failing as a parent, which sounds like it was true, but probably not the most tactical move in that moment, and I think OP knows that, but at the same time I'm just like fuck it, because the real issue is that mother-in-law showed up uninvited with bags packed after being told no. And OP said that she lunged at her. She was about to physically attack a woman who just gave birth. And mother-in-law just basically proved why OP doesn't want her around. Her behavior is absolutely wild. But OP comes in with her first update and says, can't believe I'm here with an immediate update and things have spiraled. Firstly, I took your guys' advice and explained to my husband that I didn't mean what I said. He asked if I truly think he's lazy, and I told him that no. Over the years, I've seen how mother-in-law treated brother-in-law's wife, and how father-in-law is that she believes men shouldn't be involved in childcare. And whilst pregnant, I always thought that's how he'd be if she came to stay with us. And in the last 3 days we've been home, I've been a little paranoid, but I do believe he's a wonderful husband. He will be a great father. We made up, and we're good. Until my update. Mother-in-law is crazy. Didn't know how crazy she'd be. She refused to leave my house and it's raining as she's standing outside, as it started to rain, and refusing to go with father-in-law to a hotel. Or something, still haven't responded to anyone, but sister-in-law did text. If I wouldn't let her mother come, then she would. And that in itself is even crazier. My mother-in-law is standing in the rain. My husband has since tried to get her to leave, and leave with father-in-law. Father-in-law asked if they could come in, and now I look like the bad person for not allowing her in. She said she wouldn't leave and stand in the rain until we properly welcome her into the house. Update 2. Thank you guys for all your lovely comments and not so lovely comments. Firstly, my husband does have boundaries with his mother, but being Nigerian, you have your limits, and it's his mother. He tries to be firm but also not push her away. But that aside, she finally left with father-in-law after he said he was going to leave her there. My husband found them a hotel and went to check on them, and from what he told me, his mother cursed both him and I, and there was a screaming match. Father-in-law says he's disappointed in us, but says that for the sake of peace, why couldn't we let her stay, even if it's for a week? My husband told his dad they've both done enough, and as per some suggestions, threatened they wouldn't see me or the baby, and that shut her up quick. I had a talk with sister-in-law and said the same thing everyone is saying for the sake of peace. But I explained she didn't come here peacefully and created a scene, so what exactly has been peaceful about all of this? And her mum didn't come to her house, so why is she pressed about coming to mine? Sister-in-law sighed and hung up. In-laws are also saying for peace because they all know how she is, but for now I'm okay. My child is okay. My mum has been trying to ease the stress. I got a foot rub from my husband and some really nice soup, and have napped for the first time in a long time. Lol. When my hubby came back and we had a good time together with the baby, so all is good. Mother-in-law says she's not speaking to anyone, so I think we're in the clear. I'll update again if anything does happen. Thank you again. So OP comes in 10 months later with their final update. They said, hello, have an update 10 months later. I believe myself and my baby are doing well. She's hitting all her milestones and had started babbling away, which is adorable. My husband and I moved from our apartment to our own house, so there's space for her to run around. My mum is still here as she decided to move in with us, and we're delighted to have her, so on to the update. My husband and I have decided to go no contact with my mother-in-law after an incident occurred at the family house in... YouTube's telling me it's pronounced Osun, so I do apologize if it's wrong. My house and I are both from Osun State, Nigeria. but different towns, and we finally went to visit my mother-in-law and father-in-law. And she tried to have one of her friends from the area steal my baby while she was napping, and it caused a huge fight. Until this date, she still says it's my fault for keeping her baby away from her. Father-in-law is still with her, and he also blames my husband for not getting his house in order. The family is disgusted with her, including, and surprisingly, sister-in-law, who has decided to get therapy for her mummy issues and has got no contact too. The only person still talking to her is my brother-in-law, who says that she's just old and acting out because she doesn't know what to do or how to say sorry, citing different generations, etc. But the reason I've come here is because she had a health scare coming into the new year, a stroke, and father-in-law reached out saying he's tired of this and misses us, mother-in-law too. And if we can just apologize, come and see her and work it out so we can be a family again. I was about to break my resolve, as she is old, but my husband shut it down fast, telling his dad we were not the problem to begin with. And so the in-laws are back on her side, saying we are assholes for denying a dying woman a chance to be with her family. Okay, writing says to OP, not the asshole. That mother-in-law is a nutcase. Your child is not her child and she is lucky. Her and her friend are. That you didn't call the police for the attempted kidnapping. Mother-in-law and father-in-law need to apologize, not you or your husband. Cat Monster says, not the asshole. Definitely not in the wrong, and good job to your husband standing his ground. You have nothing to apologize for. Even if you were a little harsh at one point, it was bound to happen. She disrespected you by showing up, and until she carries that child for 10 months, it is not her baby. I could understand showing up to see her with a child for a hospital visit, but apologies for what? Nope, definitely not. So hold up. As I was reading it, I had to pause for a few seconds. She tried to have a friend steal the baby, kidnap a baby. I mean, it just escalated all the way through, didn't it? She shows up uninvited with packed bags. She's standing in the rain trying to manipulate you like some creepy freaking horror movie shit, and then literally tries to steal a grandchild. That's wild. And then father-in-law's turning around with the audacity of just apologize, to the woman who tried to kidnap your baby so we can be a family again. Don't take the piss, mate. And what should OP do about this situation? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Mother-in-law had a stroke. That's really sad. But strokes don't erase attempted kidnapping. It's that simple. But also good on the husband in this situation as well for saying absolutely not. We're not having anything to do with this shit. We're no contact. That's it. And I got an opportunity to say kick rocks here because the brother-in-law with different generations, that excuse, he can kick rocks. Attempted kidnapping is not a generational thing. Get the fuck out of there with that. But bloody hell, what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.